We have a Joe who lives for free. Mary doesn't care as much because the mortgage is being taken care of unless Mary depends on that income to be able to live off of. Yikes. What's up YouTube? My name is Nevko Wiljevic of One Deal Away and welcome to another video. If you like these videos, please make sure you share them and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click the bell button so that you can get notification when another video goes live. Alright, so today we're talking about knock-up effect. What the heck is that? Now we've all heard about the thing called the knock-down effect. We've also heard about the trickle-down economics. But what in the world is knock-up effect? Allow me to explain. Welcome to the coronavirus, where we all are being sheltered in place, or what I like to call basically home prison. So we're not allowed to go, we're not allowed to travel, a lot of businesses have closed, and if you have been paying any attention whatsoever to the news, you likely have uncovered that there is well over 10 million people who have claimed officially for unemployment, and the number is going up. So what does that mean to us when we're thinking about the knock-up effect? And I'm going to use real estate to explain how this works, because mostly I tend to invest in real estate and I do believe in this asset class. So let us begin. Here is Joe. Joe is a person who is renting a home. Yes, he is a renter. Now, this also could work out really well for those that are actually buying and owning homes, but we're going to use a renter because it gets a bit more complicated. Joe used to have a job that would pay him, right? However, because everything is closed, Joe ends up being one of the people that loses his job. Now, employment insurance might work out for Joe for a little while, but if things end up drying out, then not working quite out, there is a problem. Joe no longer can pay his rent. Now, Mary owns this property, and Mary depends on receiving a check to be able to make things work. What ends up happening is that when Joe no longer can afford to pay for this, Mary, of course, can evict him, the big E. However, there's a law that is prohibiting Mary to do that just yet. So she cannot evict him, he cannot pay, so he lives there for free. We all love a free way to live, don't we? Now there is a problem because Mary owns money to the bank. And it might not even be the bank, because this is where things get complicated. Most of the current financing for homes is actually not even banks. It's the non-bank financial institutions that have been exploding since 2012, 2013, allowing more of us to borrow more money from non-bank institutions or actually mortgage holders. So she owes money to a mortgage holder, but guess what? Because Joe is no longer paying rent, she cannot pay mortgage. Because of that, she stops paying her mortgage to the lender. Now, lender has actually borrowed money from the bank. Okay? And now, because Mary is no longer paying, the bank could foreclose on the property. However, and we're going to call that the big F, however, because there is a current law that is prohibiting the lenders to foreclose on the homes, Mary gets to keep the property for free without having to pay, or she could do a forbearance, meaning that she postpones her payment to some point in the future. Now, we have a Joe who lives for free. Mary doesn't care as much because the mortgage is being taken care of unless Mary depends on that income to be able to live off of. Yikes, that is kind of gone now. Then she doesn't have to pay to the lender, who now cannot afford to pay to the bank. Whatever money was going to the bank no longer gets. Now, bank could actually go in and take over the business and close them down. However, there's a law that is now in the books not allowing for that to happen. Bank gets money from the central bank, and that is how they actually end up getting some liquidity. So the Fed can no longer get the stuff repaid for because the bank is not getting money from the lender. The lender cannot pay because Mary cannot afford a mortgage payment, and she can't afford a mortgage payment because Joe cannot afford to pay the rent. Joe would love to pay for the rent, but he doesn't have a job. This is a knock-up effect where up the line, as the money was being doled out, the money starts drying up. And that is a huge problem that is happening that hasn't been priced into the markets quite yet. Now, the Fed is actually being able to print a whole lot of money, but how does Fed make actually money? Well, it's you and I. These are called taxes. So while there's a knock-up effect for all of these businesses that are being affected, at some point in the future, there's going to be a knockdown and a trickle-down effect to every single individual around the country. And if this was only happening in the United States, that would be one sort of problem. But this is happening all over the world that is affecting every single country or nearly every single country, and most of the countries are in an even bigger problem because here in the United States we work off of reserve currency, the US dollars. We earn them, we spend them, we borrow them. In other countries, they earn their own currency, they spend their own currency, but they borrow US dollar. For that reason, there is the thing called the dollar milkshake theory that was coined quite a few years back that basically says US dollar will have to go up because there's all of these loans around the world that are being made in US dollars, and all of the countries have to go out and borrow. And of course, it continues to talk about how they cannot simply stop making payments. They have to roll the debt over, make a new deals with the Fed, with the United States, in order to be able to survive. Part of the reason was many people would say, well, they could just stop paying. The problem is that the United States owns a whole lot of stuff all over the world, and so stopping paying the United States could mean potentially not being able to qualify for any loans whatsoever, which is hugely problematic in today's world of fiat currency. So how is this whole experiment going to end? Well, that's anybody's guess. My guess is that we will come up with some sort of new financial system that will be rolling out over the next few years. Now, typically I have been projecting things to run a bit slower. However, due to coronavirus, I have experienced that things are running super fast. And most of it has to do with the high financialization of the world. So, where I originally thought that some sort of financial system, change in financial system would happen over the course of the 20s, I think we're going to experience that much sooner. So whereas I thought it would be a decade or maybe two, now I think it might be a couple of years. What is it going to be? Well, my money is on cryptocurrencies because that's already been explored and there's a lot of conversations about it from just about anybody and everybody who is in fintech or financial technology. So this is what the knockdown or knock-up effect actually looks like, and it will only be a matter of time before we see some type of money, likely Fed coin, or maybe even some sort of SDR, IMF coin, coming our way. I hope this is helpful to you and that you have learned something new. If you like the show and if you have enjoyed this episode, please make sure you share it, subscribe, click that bell button so you hear whenever we go live again, and showcase any of the other videos. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay forever money blessed, and remember, you are only one deal away.